Shepherd Youth, what's up? It is Worship Wednesday. My name is Jeff, and this is a familiar face for a lot of you. My man Louie Bookout. What up, dude?
Hey.
Louie is a very, very good friend of mine, and I'm being real. At this moment, I'm kind of sad because I haven't physically seen him in like over 3 months.
Right.
It's borderline depressing. I miss you, dude.
I haven't had anyone give me a big bear hug.
Exactly.
Pick me up uncomfortably and try to crack my back or something.
Exactly. Like that should happen at least once a week in your life.
Yeah. Brienne tries, but she can't do that.
She's just not burly enough.
She should be more burly.
Yeah, she definitely could,
work on that.
You should have been doing that this whole time in quarantine. The Burly Brienne program. Burly Brienne. Shepherd Youth. I've known Louie for, I think going on 9 years now, for the most part. Leading worship together for like 7 or so. And this is not like a bias thing. I always tell people all the time, like Brienne, Louie, and Adriana are really they're like my favorite worship leaders to lead with, just because of how, like, I think for the bookouts for like Louie and Brienne, my favorite thing about them is like, they don't really fit into a certain like mold or bubble. Like they are who they are. And it never feels like they're trying to be someone else. And that's probably one of the coolest things and probably one of the more powerful things about worship leading and worship leaders, in a culture of worship where it's very common for people to try to look and fit into a certain mold. And so I've never felt like you guys are doing that. Like, I feel like when I hear a Bookouts tune, it's a Bookout song. And so I think that's a really cool thing to be able to say about your music.
Thanks, dude.
So the goal today was just to kind of like talk to Louie about some Bookouts tunes, some music, and really songwriting. So I got 3 questions for you, bro.
Shoot them. Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. What would you consider is probably the most, or if not one of the most important things when it comes to songwriting for you?
Okay. For me, theming a song is huge for me, because so often I think sometimes when we don't have a generic theme in mind, our songs can kind of go every which way, especially within worship music. A lot of like same lingo gets used. The verses don't make much sense. Maybe you have a really cool chorus, but you're just trying to fluff it up with a bunch of like random words in these verses. So for me, it's always been theming a song out, and making sure that I'm driving that theme home the whole time. And so how that translates into, my writing and Brienne's writing as well is, I'm very linear. Like, if you look at most of the songs that I've written, you start off in one place, and because of what happens in the verse, that's what impacts the chorus. And then once we hear the chorus, now that changes how the second verse flows. So in songs like It Is Finished or something like that, you hear this theme of like, I was lost in the wilderness, but then, God's grace, He sent His only Son as ransom for my imperfections, yada, yada, yada. Now we go into verse 2, which is saying that I've been crucified with Christ, I no longer live the way I once did.
Yeah.
And so there's this progression that happens, this kind of like natural, like going from A to B to C, as opposed to just kind of lumping everything together. So for me, it's very much a storytelling experience.
Love that.
And that's huge for me. That's not necessarily the same for everybody else, but for my mind, like everything has to work that way.
Yeah. And I think, again, like you just said, this might not be for everybody. For me personally, I prefer songs that are linear in that thematically, right? Where like I'm going with them somewhere. Like I feel like you started somewhere, and because of where we started, like this next part makes more sense because of what we just sang. And so that is probably part of the reason why like It Is Finished is probably my favorite Bookout song. I just love that song. I've wanted to cover it like You know what I mean? Like, which is, it's just such a good song.
Yeah.
Which technically is my next question, that idea of covering, because, you know, when you guys are artists and people love your sound and your music and the songs that you write personally as you know, as a duo or whatnot, I feel like sometimes when you do like a cover, someone could be like, well, why would you do a cover when you can like write your own song? And so I guess my question is like, why? Like, why do covers? Why are doing covers important? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, I mean, for me personally, the song has to mean something to me. It's got to like impact me in a really deep, deep way. I'm never gonna do anything just because I want to get plays on something like, you know, Waymaker comes out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cover Waymaker so that I can maybe get some of Leland's streams.
Yeah,
exactly. No, it's gotta, like, and those songs mean a lot to me, but sometimes there's maybe these tunes that, I mean, I like underdog kind of songs too, or songs that have maybe gone away for a while.
B-side tracks.
Yeah. Or people forgot about that are so rich lyrically.
Yeah. Time out. So for you Shepherd Youth people, when I said B-side track, back in the day, you used to get a cassette tape, like a little cassette tape. Mm-hmm. And most times people put all their best songs on side A. Because at the end of side A, you take the cassette out, flip it, and put it back into the radio, and it would play the second side. And the B-side tracks usually weren't the most popular ones. Sorry, right. Continue.
You're good, dude. Unless it was a concept album, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had to,
and all the heat was on the B-side.
Ooh, yeah.
Or you like.
But what was I saying? I totally lost it. But anyway.
I threw you off. Probably. You just said you like the underdog songs.
So definitely songs that have like really rich lyrical content that maybe I feel like they either haven't gotten enough play in recent years or whatever. Like one of the songs that we did was How Deep the Father's Love for Us.
Mm-hmm.
How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure.
That song, I don't know, every time I listen to that song, and still even when I lead that song, it does something to me. So I think that's why I was so eager to like add that into what we were doing, especially on our album, because it meant something, and then it kind of like fit into like everything else that we were doing with the record. So there's that. You know, the last song we did was Lord Speak to Me, which is actually an old hymn.
Mm-hmm.
And that hymn lined up a lot with what I was just talking about previously in terms of like a song, like leading you through a story, you know. The progression, there's like a progression, like speak to me, teach me, fill me, and then use me, you know. So there's this progression of like God using somebody, and the whole spectrum of just like from hearing the word to doing it, you know. And so when I read those lyrics, I had never heard that song. I had picked up a hymnal and I looked at these lyrics and I said, wow, these are really cool. So I figured out how I felt that those lyrics should be sung, or even written into an arrangement. And that's kind of like how we ended up doing that. So to make a long answer,
medium length.
Medium length. Yeah, it's just it's gotta mean something to me personally. It can't just be because so and so said they want to hear us sing. You know.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, one of the things that you hear people like, man, you would sound really great on, and they fill in the blank with that song, and you're like, thanks, man. Like,
thanks. You know, you can hear it when I sing it on the weekends.
Exactly. Like that song doesn't inspire me the way that I think it inspires you. That's okay. Last question, Louie. I guess the question is, what inspires you when it comes to songwriting? Like, what is the main thing, or what are some other things that inspire you that maybe, you know, a Shepherd Youth student hasn't thought about? You know what I mean? They're gonna, I think the honest and like and like obvious answer, but right answer also is Jesus. Like, you know what I mean? Like the things of God will inspire you for sure. But are there other things outside of that that inspires you when it comes to songwriting?
Yeah. A lot of other music does.
Yeah.
Again, it just comes back to experience, but I've had like moments with certain songs, and the instrumentation that's happening in those songs kind of pulls an emotion out of me. So in that, I want to kind of recreate that kind of experience, but within my own music. So, I might hear in a record a certain guitar, like the guitar is played a certain way or it sounds a certain way. So I would like to incorporate that into what I'm doing, not like copy it per se, but bring the same idea into my song so that it can hopefully, maybe it's probably more for me than it is for anybody else, but it's so that I can latch onto it emotionally and have another experience with, what I'm singing about, because I would want lyrically like that emotion to translate when I'm not just from a record, but when I'm singing in front of people, when I'm leading people. I want that emotion to continually come out of me, that passion to continually come out of me, just because otherwise it's a performance and then that's lame. It needs to just kind of be a natural extension. So anyways, a lot of other music, and not necessarily, most times it's not even worship music that is the inspiration for a song. It's a lot of other artists that I listen to that I appreciate, and I try to adopt certain things into what we're doing. Like for instance, we on our album we have one song that Brienne sings that is like, we approached it when we like started getting the idea for it. We said, we want to make a Fleetwood Mac song. So how would we, we like, what's the tune? Is it Dreams? I think. Thunder only happens when it's raining.
I think so. Dreams. Yeah.
Anyways, we're like, we need to, like that song. I love that song. Let's try to like figure out how to make something like that.
My lamp you have kept burning from the darkness. You've led me away. Never brought to shame. My refuge and my strength.
Wrote a tune, and then and it's not like it was identical, but it was the idea behind it. Like how I was playing guitar, it was very different from how I would normally play. Like instead of just playing the same 4 chords, just strumming, I'm arpeggiating, and I'm trying to kind of mimic what I was hearing in a Fleetwood Mac song. And so it's that kind of stuff. I think that for me is inspiration. You had brought up earlier, like you go to the mountains, or you go here, or you go there. I think sometimes that can like inspire maybe like lyrical ideas, maybe. Especially when in a place like the mountains or the ocean, you're just kind of like overwhelmed with God's majesty and his bigness, and the fact that he's such an amazing creator, that all this stuff is around me. And so it inspires you lyrically. But I think for me, it definitely comes back to more different artists that kind of like either shape my idea for writing or musicality, instrumentation, whatever that might be.
Money. Sometimes I feel like I thought about this for myself too, but like performance happens in the head, but inspiration happens in the heart. And like I try to remind myself a lot of times to get out of my own head, right? When we're talking about what we're doing on a platform and leading worship, like people don't want what's happening in my mind really when it comes to overthinking and what I'm playing and the lyrics, and I'm like trying to remember lyrics, things like that. But really how I've been inspired through this worship song and my own personal worship, and like bringing that out of myself when I lead. And so man, inspiration is super important, and it's a powerful part of what we do as singers and songwriters.
I think
All
there's
right.
a need. I think there's a need for students, whatever. If anyone's watching this, for you to be unique in the way that only you can. And that's, you opened up with saying like, oh, when you hear a Bookout song, it's a Bookout song, and you're not trying to be anybody else. Yeah, because there's a million other people that are either doing that or doing something different. So I think, and that's one thing. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. In terms of like, I want to be unique in some way, but every time I hear different artists or churches or whatever, just kind of take a proven model, a proven sound, and just replicate that and continue to do that over and over and over again. To me, it doesn't. It never comes across as an authentic extension of who they are. Now, I'm not knocking them for doing that. I'm just saying that's how I feel. So I'm naturally going to try to go in a different direction. Yeah. Even though, like, say that model or that sound is tried and true, I want to go in a little bit different direction to either set us apart or because I want to jive with that music in a different way.
Yeah, that's good. That's
so
great.
Just be unique. Don't be like somebody else.
Yep. Plenty of other people trying to be other people, but only you need to be you. Well, hey man, I wanted to thank you for jumping in on Zoom with me today and just talking about songwriting, talking about your songs. I'm gonna try to direct some of the students to Spotify and check out some Bookout's tunes. You know what I'm saying?
Get lost.
Get lost in the Bookout's tunes. Man, I miss you, dude. I can't wait to be able to be back at church and leading with you soon enough. It'll happen again soon. I know it. But until then, I love you, bro. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, dude.
Shepherd Youth. Love you guys.
Love you guys.